Hi everybody, we're gonna have some fun today. We're gonna shoot a video about some of my family favorite meals. And the first one we're gonna do today is we're gonna do biscuits and gravy, homemade of course, and some of the Dustin Stanley Famous Candied Bacon. Some of you watching this are familiar with the Candied Bacon at Fogo, and Dustin thought we would just kick it up a notch. I'm gonna warn you, it's a little bit spicy, but it's absolutely delicious. You need it to be as thick as absolutely possible. And some of you may have tried to make candied bacon before. The problem is if you toss it in the sugar too early and then you put it in the oven, then it's gonna burn on you. So what we're gonna do is we're just gonna kind of temper the bacon a little bit, and we're gonna throw it in the oven for about 10-ish minutes now on 200, and then we'll come back and we'll get started on the gravy. With the country style gravy, you wanna buy a good ground sausage, breakfast sausage of course, Jimmy Dean, Purnell's, whoever it is, or maybe you make it yourself. You just want to brown that, and so you got to break it up. You want to go about medium heat on that, but you just want to break it up and just keep simmering it and keep simmering it. We're going to try to render out as much fat as possible. One of the things I want to tell you is if you have some available, and hopefully in about 10 minutes we will, if you have any bacon grease available, you'll want to keep that on the side, so because you might need some extra fat because we're going to make what's called a roux. And when I was growing up, country gravy wasn't one of my very favorite things, and so I've always decided that when I'm making, if there's something that I don't like, I'm going to try to make it myself, and if I don't like it after I make it myself, then I just don't like it. But if I do like it, then I get real good at it. We went ahead and baked the biscuits ahead of time. Nobody wants to see that, that's pretty boring stuff. But you want a good, fluffy, like buttermilk or southern style biscuit. And if you actually, when you're baking them, if you put them together, they'll rise even more than if you keep them separate when you're baking them. And that'll allow for a real fluffy finish. So I am one of the advisors here at Strategic Wealth Designers, but I have a pretty strong food background. I'm the baby of three, and I'm an Italian, and Italians are very social, and they really entertain with food. So we've always had food all the time, and that's how we entertain, literally around the kitchen table or around the dining room table. As a young kid, my brother and sister ended up getting a job in a grocery store, and I didn't really want to follow that path. So I decided to get a job at a local Italian restaurant here in town. And one day, one particular Saturday, I was rolling silverware because I was a busboy, and a bunch of the kitchen staff didn't show up. And so they asked me if I knew how to cook, and I said, I don't know, I guess. I mean, I play around in the kitchen at home. Well, they threw me in the kitchen that day, and I was in the food business from that point on for about 20 years. Moving my way up, I was the youngest line cook at a 4-star French restaurant here in Louisville, and then I moved on to Cisco Food Company, and I just kept cooking and kept cooking, and I've been fortunate enough to cook in some really great places. I've cooked some weddings with some chefs that are pretty notable in the region, and then I got to cook at what's called the James Beard House up in New York with the chef, one of the local chefs who's been on Food Network and featured and stuff like that. And that was one of the most humbling experiences I've ever had. And it was just such an honor to do. And if you don't know what the James Beard House is, it's a foundation that they raise money so that they can help people that are in poverty to learn how to cook so that they can get employment in the food service industry. And so it was just such an honor to cook there. And one of the hardest days of my life, but one of the best days of my life. Okay, so the sausage is almost done, and what we're going to do is we're going to take it out, but we're going to try to leave as much fat in there as we possibly can. And then if I don't have enough, I'm going to end up using a little bit of oil, but normally you would want to use as much fat as you can get from the sausage, and if you have, like I said, bacon grease, you get bacon grease from it, and you can do that. But when you're taking the sausage out, you kind of want to press it to the side, just so it'll get as much of that fat out of there as possible. But when you're making a roux, basically what a roux is it's fat and flour. So if that's bacon grease, if it's oil, if it's butter, whatever it may be, that's all it is. But you need close to equal parts. Otherwise, it'll get too floury tasting, and I don't really know if that's a real word or not, but that's what my wife will say, and she's true, she's right, that's what it'll say. So it's a little short on oil. I've got like a tablespoon or so of oil, so we're gonna put, or fat, so we're gonna put a little bit more. And I just use canola oil because it needs a high smoke point, which means it won't burn with the high heat. And then just your normal all-purpose flour. Get that in the pan. And like I said, you want about equal parts. I'm pretty bad about measuring things out, but I'm gonna guess it's gonna be about a half a cup, give or take. And what you wanna do at that time is start whisking that up so that you can develop the roux. And that's what'll actually thicken the gravy. Now, like when you're making gumbo, you've got to do a roux, and you would do a roux for a few hours. That's not something you want to do with a sausage gravy because it ends up, it'd be too nutty tasting, too rich tasting, if you would. Here, you just want to make it, it's really kind of like a cooking agent. Okay, now we're going to add the milk, and I just use your normal standard 2% milk. And as far as measuring this goes, it's really up to your preference. If you like it more runny, if you would, then add more milk. But if you like it thicker, then you add less milk, and then you'll get the consistency that you like. The one thing you want to do is make sure you don't add too much because you can't take it out. You know, you can always put more in, you can't take it out. But you get that milk going, and after a couple minutes, it'll really start to bubble up, and then you'll be almost done with the gravy. Now, when we get to doing this candied bacon, like I said before, it is Dustin Stanley Famous. So I've had some trials with it, and I think I finally got it down to a science. But we'll let him be the judge later. Dustin is one of my best friends. We've known each other for a long, long time. He's instrumental in the fact that I'm fortunate enough to work with Strategic Wealth and with all the people that I get to. But he is a partner at the firm. He's on the news a lot, and he's a revered educator, and he's a great leader in our firm. He's definitely a tremendous mentor to me and to many and many others. Basically what we're looking for now, obviously you put cold milk in there, and so you're wanting it to mesh with that roux, and so that's when you're wanting to really start to mix it up. And as it starts to heat up, they'll get some bubbles start to form around the sides, and then when that happens, it'll actually really foam up pretty quickly. And then at that point, we're gonna add black pepper to it, because the black pepper is going to add a little kick to it. And then at the last minute, we'll fold in the sausage, and then we'll pretty much be done. I'm going to do one other thing to it because there are some people that like the sausage a little more fine ground. But if you can see, the bubbles are starting to form, and then in a minute, it'll really just start to thicken up. So if you look here now, I'm going to go ahead and lower the heat down to a simmer, because it's really started to thicken up. A lot of my family actually thinks this is funny, so a lot of people don't know, but I was born in Brooklyn, New York, and then I lived in Fort Lauderdale and then moved here to Louisville. But a lot of my family from the Northeast thinks it's hysterical that I make country style gravy. But if it's good, why not make it? I went ahead and turned the heat back up on the gravy. It's bubbled, it's nice and thick. At this point, we're gonna add our black pepper. And I like to use a coarse ground black pepper. So we're just gonna add that for spice. Again, you can always add more, but you can't take out. So you don't wanna go too heavy on the pepper, otherwise people won't be able to eat it. And then you just fold in the sausage back into the bowl, or into the pan, I'm sorry. And then we've got sausage gravy. Now, I'm gonna use what's called a burr mixer, or a hand blender. And what this does, I'm not gonna go too much on it, but it's gonna grind up the sausage just so it's a little bit more fine. I found people tend to like that a little bit better. So we'll go in there and just any of the big chunks, you just kind of grind up. Just takes a few seconds. So that's it. We've got biscuits and gravy, and I like to take the biscuits, I like to open them. So you got open faced, take a ladle and douse it on there. So the bacon, you can see we didn't cook it all the way through. We took it out after about 10 minutes. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna toss it with some brown sugar and some spices. And so let me bring that over there. And I like to use light brown sugar just because it won't be as dark. It's a little bit lighter tasting. And then we use some cayenne pepper, and then we're using some jalapeno chili powder. Now, I'm gonna let you know, there is a kick with this. So if you don't like spice at all, you might toss it with maybe with just a little bit of kosher salt or something like that to add. You need something to add a little richness to it beyond brown sugar. So about a tablespoon of each. That's a little bit light of a tablespoon, and my palm is a pretty good tablespoon. So that's a little bit under a tablespoon there. Put that in there. And so you want to mix that up to incorporate the spices with the sugar. And then all you're going to do, it's pretty simple. You're just going to take the bacon and you're going to put it in the Ziploc bag and toss it around, and then we're going to throw it back in the oven. And so a cup of brown sugar, a tablespoon of the cayenne pepper, a tablespoon of the jalapeno pepper, that's good for about a pound of the thick cut bacon. So obviously if you want to do more, it's still best to do it in batches. That way you get some pretty even coated on the bacon. And you can see the bacon's got a really nice coat to it now. And we call it candied bacon, and literally my family eats it like it's candy. It's never safe around. And you can never have too much. If you buy 1 pound, it'll all be gone. If you buy 3 pounds, it'll all be gone. So now all we're gonna do is we're gonna put this in the oven, and we're gonna crank the heat up to about 375. And then basically we're gonna check on that in about 10 minutes. The one thing you don't wanna do is you don't wanna overcook it. The bacon's done now, so what I'm gonna do is gonna take it out of the oven and we'll take a look and see if we like it. I'm gonna warn you now, it's crazy hot. When I was younger, I actually had melted sugar pour on my arm, and it was one of the worst burns ever. So be very, very careful when you're taking this out. But you want to make sure that it's not overcooked, because then it'll get really brittle, like candy brittle for you. So you don't want to do that. So it'll have some give now, but as it cools off, you'll want to put it to a different tray to cool. And oftentimes I'll actually just put the tray in the freezer or in the fridge for a few minutes just to speed the cooling process. But it's absolutely sensational. My kids love it, my wife loves it, everybody loves it. But it's fun to do. You can make big batches of it, and then you can serve it at a party or whatever you want. But like I said, be very careful about that sugar. So there you have it. Homemade biscuits and gravy, Dustin Stanley's famous candied bacon. And if you have any questions about this, shoot me an email at info@swdgroup.com. I'm Rob DeLessio, and I hope you enjoyed A Taste of Retirement.